And so meanwhile, I had come up with my own modes. Using all those chords I made by ear, I kind of derived a mode. I tried to see what were the most notes that I used and kind of derived 2 modes from stuff I did by ear. Won't even bother to play them. And I kind of named them, Delta 2 and Pierce 2 because I thought they most closely resembled these two, Mol 1 Delta and Mol 2 Pierce. So just kind of arbitrary names. Didn't really like my modes because they turned out they didn't have the right, they left out the low intertone ratios. I think I was using that horrible octave actually. So I didn't really like my modes, but guess what? They fit here. I was like, hey, I like my modes actually. So I called them Mol 2, Delta 2, Pierce, whatever. This was around the time I got to know Heinz Bohlen over the internet. And he actually, I thought that I had contacted him, but I just found this. And I guess maybe he wrote me first. Congratulations, I stumbled on your final project work, the Bohlen-Pierce scale. And he said it may be permitted to make a few comments. So this was really helpful. Heinz said, I'm delighted to see no similarity has been found in chord inversions. I personally never believed in them. I didn't either, really, but I do think 5 minutes, okay. And finality, he liked my results. And he said, you're entirely correct about lambda mode. His was originally gamma, but he didn't really care about that so much. And I did point out to him that I am not the first one that has done work in chord progressions and played with some of Dr. Bohlen's music and some other music that was out there. Heinz had kind of been a little out of the loop. There was a lot of Bohlen-Pierce music he hadn't even heard, people he hadn't even heard of. So I tried to bring him into the loop, tried to get Dr. Bohlen and everyone to start saying the Bohlen-Pierce scale. So you notice even Max Matthews has a little trouble.
I'm not as good a student as you, Elaine. So I don't.
He gives me a hard time. Anyway, so this is none of this matters, but this is just showing some. If I had more time, I think this would be kind of funny. Heinz and I talking back and forth about what to name the modes, and I'm like, I named them Pierce 2, and he said, why don't you just name them? Go ahead and name them Walker 1 and Walker 2. So there they are. Just to let you know, because a lot of people ask me, how do you have modes named after you? And so I said, hey, there's still these 2 blank spots. Maybe we could come up with some fun names for those. Because Walker 3 and 4 would be totally ridiculous. What should we call them? Well, then he put Walker A and B. So I swear to come up with that. And then this is actually how I discovered it. He hadn't even told me. I saw it on the website, and I'm like, Walker A and B, that's funny. So this is my favorite part. Elaine Walker ignored, all diatonic scales mentioned so far abide by one unwritten law. They consist of 2 pentachords, each spanning 6 halftones separated by another halftone. Elaine Walker ignored this veto by proposing 4 new modes with unequal pentachords. Walker's bold act of musical disobedience completed one of the family, I like to say, musical disobedience completed one family of possible BP modes. Anyway, that's just straight off of Heinz Bohlen's website. And I show that right. Okay, well, just a little bittersweet part of the story. I was realizing that Heinz Bohlen and John Pierce had never met. And they both lived in the San Francisco area. And I thought that was crazy. And he'd never met Max Matthews either. I happened to be flying out there because I was actually applying to Stanford at the time. I didn't get in. But so we planned on, maybe let's get together. Maybe we can all get together and you can finally meet. It'll be this historic moment. But unfortunately, it was absolutely not possible because John Pierce was already falling ill and he just absolutely couldn't take any visitors. So it was just horrible timing. And Heinz Bohlen was really sad. They're both microwave engineers, in case anyone's forgotten. They kind of look alike. They kind of both have that microwave engineer look. And so Heinz Bohlen was always a fan of John Pierce anyway, because John R. Pierce is all kinds of famous. He's a famous microwave engineer, Mr. Transistor. And so Heinz Bohlen was also envious that he, not envious, but he was excited that he also came up with the same scale. He really wanted to meet him. didn't get to. He did meet Max Matthews, and he actually did eventually meet Keys Krugin, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce, the other inventor of the Bohlen-Pierce scale. There was one other man that kind of came up with it a real long time ago. Okay, I'm almost out of time, so let me just skip really ahead. So kind of my next phase of working with the Bohlen-Pierce scale was several years later. I got hold of this keyboard and quickly rearranged it to lambda mode and hated it because the black keys smeared together and I couldn't tell where I was. Just to let you know though, this was 10 notes per octave. I think this is that smears together. 19. Black notes totally smeared together. So maybe that's just the way it is. Maybe it's okay. And just to show you, there are horrible ways to rearrange it. Wrong, wrong. If you put the hexagons the other way, in lambda mode, it actually looks quite nice. This might be the solution, but I haven't tried it yet because it would be holding the thing the wrong way. We'd need a new one of these built that's wider the other way. So I did end up, as you can see, just moving that over. And ta-da! And then suddenly I realized it's exactly like Heinz's original keyboard. So that was a moment for me that was like, I just thought it was funny and amazing and weird coincidence. So on my website, I'll just kind of wrap this up. On my website, there are all kinds of charts. Here's the first 3 phases, like the low energy ratios, how you would play the triad. And won't really have time to play this right now, but I'll have it hooked up. You guys can play it. And I also have all kinds of, here's another 12-tone experiment. Mind you, again, I don't care to compare it necessarily to 12-tone, but this is just to show that you can derive these functionality that sounds similar to like 7 chords. So the red is 1, 3, 5 major and minor, and add some 7s, major, minors, and 6s, and there's different options for the 6s and 7s, and I have all this on my website. Here's like different other chords. And then my next phase was to build some keyboards. So what I did was get just a 830 that was lying around collecting dust, sawed the keys off. That gets rid of the horrible problem of rearranging the white keys. They're all different shapes. Sawed them off. You can rearrange them however you want. Didn't like the way it looked, so I experimented a little and then finally came up with the vertical. I don't have that over. And so I'm happy to build this for anyone who wants one. Really in any tuning. Could be anything, you just rearrange the keys. It was a lot of work done. And then I rearranged another. This one I actually sawed the keys a little bit narrower, ordered a whole bunch of extra C's and E's. This one's sitting in the back. So I'm going to have these 2 keyboards sitting in the back with headphones, if anyone wants to go over and noodle around. This one is in lambda mode. I think it's horrible that I cannot see where I am when I'm playing it. That was a good experiment, I think, to do. And this one is in dir 2 mode, so you guys can try that out for yourself.
Ready to wrap up?
Okay. And just the very last thing is I just made this quick thing called the TRIADALIZER. A friend of mine from Germany who's a mathematician, he actually is doing a lot of his main research on the Bohlen-Pierce scale right now. And Robert Schwartz, he generated this heat map, which is if you play any of these, it plays a triad. There's the wide chord and the narrow chord. So it'll play the note, you can't see the bottom, I'm sorry about that. It'll play the note right below there is an H, and over there is an F, and then it always plays the bottom corner, which is a C. So anywhere you play, here's the triadic. Okay, and that's time. So this is a nice tool if any of you want a copy of it.